Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at a new product that's coming into the wine industry, which is infused cannabis wine. We're going to be looking at how it manages its knowledge, how it's creating a share value, how it's inspiring new and revolutionary ideas for winemakers to produce this kind of wine, and how it can expand its relationship within the industry to produce and help develop new regulatory legislature that is going to be coming into effect. The United States is currently moving towards its greatest decriminalization effort since the end of Prohibition. Until the federal government gives its legal green light to cannabis, it's going to be a confusing and difficult transition, which will continue to stay difficult and confusing. But the state rights pattern has been established, and while no one can yet say for certain what will happen in regards to beer, wine, and spirits consumption, it's best for us to prepare in the wine industry for what is going to be happening. First, we need to understand the parts that make up legal cannabis market, from a joint to weed infused consumer products. Second, we need to accept that the legal and regulatory hurdles will remain hurdles even after cannabis goes mainstream, becoming perhaps even more complicated in the alcohol's three-tier system. Finally, recognizing that the alcohol industry is at the biggest crossroads since the end of Prohibition, younger consumers who seem less interested in beer, wine, and spirits than their parents and grandparents will have another option for their time and money. Moving forward, we got to use patterns, product development, and legislative actions are all areas that are promised to impact the beverage and alcohol industries. With current regulations and laws, it can seem daunting for wineries to move into the infused cannabis business, but with shared knowledge and proper relationship with distributors, vendors, and owners, they can improve on readily available knowledge on what infused wine is and how it's changing the meaning of infused wine. Currently, the Tax and Trade Bureau, which in the business is referred as the TTB, has strict laws about alcohol and cannabis being combined for sale, as is the FDA and other federal entities. Simply put, it is illegal to sell alcohol and cannabis as the same product. In the case of Rebel Coast wines, its alcohol was removed by reverse osmosis, which means that the wine itself actually has no alcohol content. Legally, no one's allowed to mix alcohol and THC, but to give you a reference about THC, every bottle has about 20 milligrams, which comes out to be about 5 milligrams THC in each glass. If you're not familiar with dosages and milligram things, that is not particularly strong. The States permits up to 10 milligrams per serving. Currently, wine is one of the most imported and exported commodities in the world, just behind crude oil and coffee beans. The marijuana industry and beverage industry is bigger than what many people guess. In fact, it's projected to be worth over 600 million over the next few years, which means that any winery that is moving towards infused wine through THC and marijuana-based products could be in the forefront of be able to capitalize in that industry of over 600 million. 9 states and Washington, D.C. have legalized recreational marijuana. Even more states allow product containing CBD, the non-psychoactive components of cannabis that in some clinical trials have shown that it has helped with muscle pain and anxiety. With younger crowds gravitating towards a more healthy lifestyle of calories and carbs, we see that more and more are moving towards a cannabis-based product and moving away from alcohol beverages, which means that Rebel Coast Winery is in the forefront of producing something that is a product based on cannabis that contains no alcohol and is more of a healthier lifestyle choice. We're going to be looking at the shared knowledge that Rebel Coast Winery, as well as other companies, are in the forefront of producing these non-alcoholic beverages that contain infused cannabis-based products. Non-alcoholic beer sometimes feels like it's missing that certain je ne sais quoi, which in French means the I don't know, in this sense, missing the alcoholic content. Makers of cannabis-infused beer, as well as wine, have a plan to change that. The co-founder of Syria Brewing Company, Keith Villa, was quoted as saying, alcohol is being consumed less and less by young people. They're looking for an alternative that tastes great, has fewer calories, and doesn't give you the hangover. Serious flavor is just like a typical Belgian wine, and the THC provides the good vibes. Because the THC is in liquid form, it's absorbed faster than your standard edible, which can take up to an hour to be felt. Constellation, which is one of the most powerful companies that owns just about 40% of the market of alcohol, spirits, and wine market, has invested a significant amount of money in Canopy Growth Company, which is the leader in Canadian adult use of recreational pot. They're changing the changing landscape in the United States about its regulations and its laws regarding cannabis at a state and federal level means that Constellation Brands is investing for the future and not now. Like many of us who look into buying a product, we want to make sure that what we're buying has a value to it. One thing we've spoken very much in class is the use of QR codes. In products, we now have access to information about a product that we would spend endless hours attempting to look up. The QR codes essentially ends all of that. In wine, if we use QR codes, it gives access to consumers the information about the producers, the vineyards, and the winemaker. One great app that has shown us how effective it can be to consumers and companies alike is Vivino. Users snap a photo of wine labels with their phone, and the app will return user ratings, the average retail price, tasting notes, and recommended food pairings. To date, Vivino users have scanned nearly 425 million labels and given 72 million ratings. Wine worth over 40 million has been sold through Vivino. With the use of Vivino and the success with QR codes, we can see how wines that are infused with cannabis could create their own and allow for consumers to have a better understanding of what is an infused wine. With vertical integration in the wine industry is essential to any small producer or vineyard. Majority of these small vineyards or producers are making the wine, bottling it, aging it, and at the end of the day, shipping it out to its consumers. Until the winery is substantially big and its demand for the wine is substantial, they tend to do everything in-house, which is the most important thing about wine is being able to produce a wine that people are going to enjoy. By being able to have access to QR codes in the vertical integration, vineyards can produce a much more controllable aspect of what their product gives. The biggest and the most important thing about wine is its label. Unlike Europe and parts of old world wine in the US, you can put a lot of information on labels and give more information to educate your consumer at the end of the day. It's hard to say if the wine industry is going to be accepting and it's going to move towards a infused product of cannabis. At the end of the day, you are taking the alcohol aspect out of wine and instead adding THC to the base product of wine. This can be very beneficial towards younger populations that are moving away from the consumption of alcohol and moving towards more of the marijuana-based product. Majority of the marijuana is used by millennials. It's a younger population that is looking for something that is less expensive, is also moving away from the consumption of alcohol. The younger population is also moving towards a more physical, active, um, fit lifestyle that is essentially taken away from the carbs, calories, and the hangover aspect of wine, liquor, and spirits. It's also very a tight community in the wine industry, which a lot of these vineyards are producing or wanting to move into the industry of producing infused wine can be very there a substantial amount of barriers that will not allow them to be able to enter the marketplace. As mentioned before, though, the regulations laws that govern infused wine and alcohol are pretty tight knit. All infused wine are required to not have any alcohol in them. So it begs the question of is it even worth moving into it? Also, is it actually an alcoholic beverage? Although the younger population is moving towards more cannabis based products, the older population is going to want their typical wine that actually contains alcohol. By dividing the wine clusters into innovative, which is highly developed, and organized, which are much less developed models, we can select core indicators of innovation activity to explore levels of integration within the wine industry. This integration examined in the context of Porter's theory of competitive advantage. What this means is that by allowing for vineyards and wineries to come together, share ideas, and network ideas to be able to produce product that is consumer driven, it's hitting the young population, and most importantly, coming together to be able to lobby for much more clearer regulations and laws would allow for them to promote and educate society about what is infused cannabis wine. Many people obviously may be a little wary about wine being infused with cannabis, but by promoting and educating consumers that a cannabis wine is actually all THC and has no alcohol in it, will allow for them to build a product that is consumer based and involve and build new ideas on where the wine industry is moving.